The power of making. In my home, I have numerous items that were crafted by friends and relatives. I am always in awe of their skills. I love receiving handmade gifts, things that somebody has spent time out of their life to make with care, perseverance, and love. They most definitely spark joy, a la Marie Kondo. Here's a few pics of the bits and bobs in my living room. I have tried these kinds of crafts but find them difficult. For me, they require a particular kind of energy which often is in short supply. Are you similar? Or perhaps you think you don't have these kinds of creative skills? Or perhaps you feel you're too short on time? I've often thought the same for myself. However, a recent realisation for me is that my houseplant hobby is a conduit for creative expression. It is something that was sort of a natural evolution for me that I kind of just ended up doing. I have also recently learnt that crafting, being creative and making are essential for my mental health. Conclusion: I need houseplants. Interestingly, many of the items that I have received were crafted by people during difficult times. For example, the rainbow came from my aunt, who knitted it during lockdown due to COVID-19. The blankets were made by my mum and sisters while facing a difficult daily life as primary carers for a sick loved one. My houseplant hobby was developed and grown through life struggles that I have been facing. This got me to thinking about the research behind the link between mental health and crafting. I worked for many years in the field of special educational needs and disabilities as a teacher, and consequently have seen for myself the necessity of craft and creativity for children and young people in my care. If there had been a difficult lunch break and tensions were high, I would always scrap or delay my afternoon plans and instead go full on crafting. Children need time to process, feel safe and express their emotions. Without these prerequisites, they wouldn't have been in a position to learn anyway. A search of the internet produces tons of results stating that craft helps depression, anxiety and chronic pain. I particularly like this article from the Craft Council. It talks about how craft has long been used to help with anxiety. This is because crafting activities involve all of the senses. They're often repetitive and anticipatory in the way you look forward to having something beautiful at the end. This encourages you to feel joy and well-being. The focus and attention required are also a healthy distraction from stresses. You feel productive in crafting things. So applying this specifically to houseplants, it ticks all the boxes, right? It is certainly multisensory, from the visual beauty of glossy leaves to the smell of the soil and the texture of that aloe to touch. Oh my goodness, I am obsessed. It is meditative in its repetition. How long does it take you to dust all of the leaves of your plants? How often do you stop and give them a good stare and find yourself an hour later having moved each pot a few centimetres? I especially like the anticipation of new growth, or pot decoration, or a big repositioning project. These things help me feel like I'm being productive and adding worth. Last year, in the depths of winter, this was big for me. In what felt like endless darkness, I would feel like daily activities were becoming pointless and empty. Tinkering with my houseplants could be a way to feel purpose and direction. The article also talks about how craft can bring people together. Well, you'll know from my previous posts that the craft of keeping houseplants has been helpful for me at a time when I was isolated from my usual support network. This continues to grow further. I'm developing a friendship with a lady from my Facebook plant swap group. The last thing that I love about this article is that it talks about the link between crafting baskets and delaying the onset and progression of dementia. I have no clue about the science of it, but the reasons stated are around the use of spatial and gestural parts of our brains. It makes me wonder if this could be applied to houseplant keeping too. I know I spend a lot of time thinking about how to prune, visualising my cuts. I often rearrange my plants. I consider what will fit where, what might look best in which position, assessing the size and shape of my plants. This provides lots of gentle movement, as does plant care. How many finger tests do you do in a day? A further thought is that building a houseplant collection could require you to branch off into other crafts. I know lots of people love to paint their pots or use different materials to cover them. I was talking to a person recently who talked about how her husband is in affectionate dismay at the takeover of their house by plants. She described how no pot is safe anymore. She's constantly looking underneath and trying to figure out what will make holes. She had been eyeing up old planks and bricks to work out what she could do with them. I would absolutely love to learn pottery and create my own pots. That is definitely a pipe dream, though. One day. Does anybody do that already? My sister has been creating name and information cards for her plants. Us houseplant fans love to research and care the care needs and propagation methods of our plants, but who is also constantly forgetting what they have learnt? I know I do, so she came up with a super cute solution. Here are some houseplant crafty projects that I've been up to lately. I think propagation itself is both a craft and an art. My first dabbling into bonsai certainly ticks the meditative box. The too long done reading, or I guess listening, version. Crafting includes developing and keeping a houseplant hobby, and if this is a craft that works for you, it is essential.